Good afternoon, dear students and faculty. Hope you all are doing well and taking care of yourself this winter season. So, today, here we are again with another live session, and it is all the more special because we have with us an esteemed guest speaker, Professor Rumana N. Siddiqui, ma'am, who will be enlightening all of us on some very crucial topics such as self awareness, self presentation, and self promotion. So, before that, I would love to introduce her. Professor Rumana Siddiqui ma'am is a professor of psychology at Aligarh Muslim University, and she has to her credit various journal articles with more than 2,000 citations, I believe. Right, ma'am? And that is really wonderful.
Yes.
And she has also authored various book chapters as well. So we are really delighted to have you with us, ma'am. Such a talented person like you, who would be sharing your valuable insights to our students and to all of us as well. So all over to you, ma'am. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Neha, for those
Ma'am,
kind words. And today, naturally, your program is too massive, so I have just picked up two, three aspects of self. And I'm really happy that you've given me this opportunity to address your students, and I hope they'll benefit from it. So, today I'll be talking about self concept and its management. Now, I was told that I have to address an issue where it is going to be helpful to students as far as the employability is concerned, as far as honing their skills are concerned. So I thought, let me pick up this aspect because self concept is a very crucial aspect, and how you think about yourself is going to help you reach great heights depending upon how you basically develop it, right? So, first I'll be talking about self concept, then I'll touch upon a little bit on self esteem, and then how to manage yourself in order to be a successful person wherever you are. So, I'll start with the term self concept. Now, generally, if you look around, and I'm sure students will bear with me, that when we talk about an image, we always think that the image is something which others make about ourselves. So the impression that we create on others, or the impression which we have about other people. Rarely do we turn the attention on ourselves. So it's just like trying to learn about other people, trying to know them, and we feel that we know more about the other person because we are interacting with them, and we don't know about ourselves because we cannot observe ourselves. But that's not the case, because every individual is unique, and every individual has a and should have an image of themselves. So self concept is very crucial, very important, because it is how you see yourself rather than how others are seeing you. It is that phenomena where we are trying to understand that if I talk about myself, what is the impression that I have about myself rather than somebody having an impression about me. So आप अपनी नज़र में अपने आप को कैसे देखते हैं. So self concept अगर बहुत आसान लफ्ज़ों में आप उसको समझना चाहें, तो it is nothing but the image that you have about yourself as a human being. So when you are answering that question, that I, that me, that myself, so that is basically self concept. Now it is important because we have to develop our own image, our own identity, and our own awareness about who we are, because the type of understanding that you develop about yourself, that is going to affect your motivation, that is going to affect your attitude, not only towards yourself but towards others and many other things. And in the long run, it is going to affect your behavior. And the type of image that you have and the type of image that you discover about yourself, it is going to affect how you not only feel about yourself but also about other people. And in terms of whether you are competent or not, whether your self worth is you feel worthy about yourself, the type of image that you have, and naturally it is going to affect your confidence level. So as a student, I think it is very important, and for others also, that it is essential that you discover your image, and for that you have to do some self introspection, or you have to do the observation. Now, it is a very tricky thing that despite the fact that it is an image which I have about myself, but how do we discover that? How do we know about ourselves? Because as far as others are concerned, we can all observe them, we can see how they are interacting with other people, how they carry themselves, how they uh, go about their lifestyle. So in a way, there's an external person, and I can observe the person in terms of their characteristics, in terms of their weaknesses, in terms of their strengths. So it is much easier to form an image or form an impression about the other person. So, how do we come to know about ourselves? Now, if I ask you a question that take a moment and try to find out what type of a person you are and what type of an image you have, can anybody give me an answer to this? Okay, so just like any class.
Ma'am, if you could please repeat the question, I'll just post it on the chat.
Okay, okay. So what I'm saying is that if I ask students that what type of a person you are, can you explain yourself in two, three sentences, or through two, three adjectives? So is it easy for you or is it difficult for you? So if we go by Rogers' understanding of self concept, he said that self concept is nothing but a collection of attitude, judgment, and values which any individual holds with respect to his behavior, his ability, his body, his worth as a person, and naturally, in short, if we want to understand the way he conceptualized self concept, he said, how does the individual perceive himself or herself? So, किस तरह की नज़रिया आप अपने आप के लिए रखते हैं? अब वो नज़रिया उस चीज़ पे डिपेंड करेगा कि आपके थॉट प्रोसेस क्या है, आप किस तरह से बिहेव करते हैं. सो इट्स नॉट others observing you, but you yourself observing yourself, and on the basis of that observation you can build an image about yourself. Now there's another person, because if you look at as I told you, it is very easy to observe another person, and when we observe ourselves, we just look at ourselves in the mirror, and the mirror only reflects a very uh, physical image of ourselves. That means it gives back an image which is based on a physical features, but physical features are not the only aspect of myself. Myself is more than that. So just like I'm sure in your psychology classes and in your personality classes, you must have studied that personality is not all about physical appearances and physical features. It is more to it. So self-concept, just like that, it is not only about how I look in the mirror. So there's a psychologist by the name of Cooley, and he said that self is everything which an individual refers to with personal pronouns, like anything with which you identify as this is me, this is myself, or it is I. So I'm sure many of you in your schools must have written an essay on myself. And when you're writing the essay on myself, you describe yourself. You describe your aspiration, describe your goals, you describe your characteristics, your likings, your dislikings. And if you have really observed yourself and done some self introspection, in that myself essay, I'm sure you must be having your shortcomings and your strengths also. So a person develops that image only when you have information about yourself. So how do you get that information, and where do you get that information from? So when we refer to Cooley, he said that the other people become my looking glass है. हम दूसरों की नज़र में किस तरह से दिखते हैं वो रिफ्लेक्ट बैक होता है, and then on the basis of that we try to form an impression about ourselves, because it is sometimes very difficult to observe ourselves. So we depend on the other person for the discovery of myself. So this is the tragic part of it. It is the image which I have about myself, but I'm dependent on other people for discovering my self image. Now, so the other person becomes very important, and that is why you must have heard that when people pass on certain comments, negative comments, or positive comments, it does have an impact on the way the individual sees. For example, अगर एक किसी छोटे बच्चे को घर में सुबह शाम ये सुनना पड़ेगा यू आर गुड फॉर नथिंग एंड यू कैन नॉट डू एनीथिंग then the child is going to internalize these comments from those people who matter to them, maybe family, maybe teachers, maybe other important people in their lives. So when the type of comments that are being given to me, I base my image on that because we feel that कि जो हमारे करीबी हैं, जो हमारे अच्छे फ्रेंड्स हैं या जो मेरे पेरेंट्स हैं, अगर वो मेरे बारे में कोई ओपिनियन रखते हैं तो कोई ना कोई बेसिस होगा उस ओपिनियन का. So on the basis of that we try to form an image, and then that is a very negative image that we form. So it is the other people around and the type of feedback that they are giving us. Sometimes we use those feedbacks to discover ourselves. So it's, and here the important thing is that not every Tom, Dick, and Harry on the street or around you, their opinion is going to matter. So when you look at self concept, they talk about the significant other, people who have strong effect on you, people who are very close to you, people who matter to you. Their comments and their feedback, they do have an impact on your the image, the understanding that you are developing about yourself. Because every child, and I think every adult also, they have this desire for approval, and you would like to avoid disapproval. So if we are getting approval for everything that we are doing, we internalize those positive aspects. It is a positive, or it's a plus for us. But when every time you are listening that whatever you are doing, no matter what you do, people always disapprove you about it, people always criticize about it, so we internalize those things, and then we develop a very negative image about, yes, ourselves. So based on the experiences, based on our interaction with other people, we develop a notion of who we are as an individual. So it's just like you are the object and you are the observer also. So you have to observe yourself in various circumstances, various situations, and on the basis of your understanding of what you are doing, the thought process that is going in your head, you try to discover that, okay, I'm a person who doesn't like a company of such and such person. I'm a person who loves helping other people. I'm a person who tries to avoid other people, or I'm a person who loves mingling with other people. And when I mingle with other people, I feel very happy about it. So when you are observing yourself in various situations, it is an information for you. So, on the basis of the information that you get about yourself, on the basis of the information that you gather, depending upon the roles that you are playing around in your life, all these informations are being used to discover who you are as an individual. Now, based on these information, if you look around, if you see self, there are various ways of categorizing self, but I won't go into the detail of that. So, depending upon, because naturally we are living in a society, so there are certain notions of the type of things which we should do and we should not do. So, if we discover information within ourselves, and if my self image reflects the expectations of my society, then I feel good about myself. So, there's something called an actual self, and there's something called a real self. Now, real self is that self which you are at a particular moment. Now, actual self is that self where you aspire to be that self because it is an ideal self. Sorry, there's a real self which you are right now, and there's an ideal self. The ideal self is based on the expectations which society has about you. So, most often there is a distance between, I say, a gap between the real and the ideal. you aspire to reach your ideal. For example, you know what it is to be an ideal son and an ideal daughter and an ideal student, but you are trying to reach that position, but you are somewhere not able to reach that, but you have trying your level best. So when you are in the process of discovering, you know that where you want to reach and what type of a person you are, what type of an image you have. So that the image that you have is the real self, and where you want to reach in terms of the expectations and the norms of the society, that constitutes an ideal self. So when you are discovering your self image, most of the time we find that there is discrepancy between the real self and the ideal self, and it is this discrepancy which impacts the type of image or the type of esteem or the type of evaluation that you have. So, and this is, I'm sure you must have heard about the name of Rogers, and it was Rogers who basically gave this categorization, that ideal self basically is based on the not only your own expectation but also the expectations of other people, and it is where what you aspire to become. But real self or the actual self is what you actually are, and you would like to improve so that you can reach your or come near your ideal self. Now, developing yourself is not a one day event, or it is not that at 16 or 17 you are done with your discovery of yourself. It is a lifelong journey, because as you grow, as you experience new things, it is going to help you improve on your understanding of yourself, and that understanding is going to make you transform whatever image that you have. To illustrate this, many of you must be looking at yourself, and especially when you were young, you thought you were a very carefree type of person. You were not very independent because there were people around you who could take care of all your needs. But as you have grown, as you have entered your university education, I'm sure many of you must have changed the way you have looked at yourself. From a very dependent person, now you must have changed the image that you had about yourself. I'm not talking about the image that others have. I'm talking about how you have started seeing yourself. And I'm sure many of you must have changed that notion of your self from a very dependent person to a very independent person. From a person who was very carefree, not bothering about anything, now you have become very responsible. So, as you are growing, as you are gaining new experiences, as you are gaining new opportunities, and you are entering new situations, you are negotiating with that situation, and those situation is helping you to develop an understanding about yourself. So when you have a lot of information about yourself, then on the basis of that information, you try to create an image for yourself. Now, how do you do that? Naturally, as I told you, there are other people around who are going to help you in the discovery of that self, because we are dependent on other people for knowing who I am. Another way of discovering that self image is that when you are in a situation, for example, if you are crossing a road and there's somebody who requires help and you help that person, so it is an information that you get about yourself, that I'm a helping type of a person. In another eventuality, you might not be helping another person, but somebody helps that person and you feel, oh, why the person is wasting his or her time. So this gives you an information that I am not a helping type of a person. Had I been in that position, मैंने तो अगर मैं उस जगह होता तो मैं तो अपना बाइक लेके चला जाता या कार लेके चला जाता, पर मैं उस इंसान की हेल्प नहीं करता. So when you are reflecting about your own behavior or the behavior of other people, that is also another way of how you are discovering who you are as an individual. So what are your way of looking at situations? What are your likes? What are your dislikes? What are your characteristics? So unless and until you discover yourself, you will never be able to form an image about yourself. Now why I'm saying this is that अगर आप अपने आप को ही ऑब्जर्व करिए और औरों को भी ऑब्जर्व करिएगा, हम ज़्यादातर दूसरों के बारे में ज़्यादा नॉलेज गेन करते हैं एंड वी थिंक वी आर इंसाइक्लोपीडियाज ऑन अदर्स पीपल लाइफ, बट हम 24/7 अपने साथ रहते हैं पर हमें अपने बारे में बहुत ज़्यादा या तो जानकारी नहीं है क्योंकि हमने वो जानकारी लेने की कोशिश नहीं की. We always try to run away from ourselves or don't feel comfortable knowing ourselves because sometimes when we try to know ourselves, we might come across certain information which doesn't go with the image that we have about ourselves. So if I feel that I'm a very confident person and I get into situations where I am not able to manage things, so it is a reflection that okay, you might be very confident, but here you are not able to, so you're not confident enough कि आप ये काम कर सकते हैं. So that is a state where it creates a discrepancy for you. So many people I see that they are not very comfortable in observing themselves because the discovery of the self concept, the self image demands that you have to observe yourself, you have to introspect about your thought process, your attitudes, why you behave in a particular manner or why you did not behave in a particular manner. Everything enables you to discover yourself. Now, if you want to discover yourself genuinely, you need to be a consistent person in as far as doing certain things are concerned. So you should not have things which are easily negotiable. So you should have non-negotiable things. For example, if you want to build a image which is positive, you should establish a foundation uh, of self-worth and self-respect. Now, again, when I use the term self worth and self respect and I discuss it with my students, they always feel uncomfortable because worth is something which we feel that other people give us, whether you are worthy enough or not in terms of achievement, in terms of what you have. So, it is a judgment which people give, which society gives, and then we feel worthy about it. Or respect is something which others give us. Why should we respect ourselves? So these are essential because unless until you feel worthy, that means if you're not feeling worthy, you don't have anything in your personality which is making you feel worthy. That means you feel important about it, or you feel confident about it, or you feel positive about it. So anybody for that matter feels worthwhile only when they feel that they have something which can be regarded as worthwhile. So if as a student, if you have achieved something, then it is worthwhile and you feel good about it. So the same goes about your image. If you don't have that self-worth, that means somewhere you lack, or either it is that, or आपने अभी अपने आप को डिस्कवर ही नहीं किया. बहुत बार होता है कि आप में बहुत खूबियां होती हैं बट आपको उसकी जानकारी नहीं होती क्योंकि आपने कभी कोशिश नहीं की उस खूबियों को जानने के लिए. एंड आई एम श्योर आपने कभी कभी ऐसा सिचुएशन में आए होंगे जहां लोगों ने आपकी तारीफ की होगी किसी पर्टिकुलर कैरेक्टरिस्टिक्स की या किसी पर्टिकुलर स्किल की, और आपने कहा होगा नहीं नहीं आपको गलत फहमी है, मुझ में ऐसा कुछ नहीं है, because you are not very confident about it or you have not discovered that talent or that skill, and but others have seen that skill. So we need to have that self-worth and we also need to respect ourselves. So when we set those non-negotiables, we draw a very clear boundary. Now the clear boundary is that कि हम क्या चीज़ के हासिल करना चाहते हो, क्या किस चीज़ के लिए हम कॉम्प्रोमाइज करेंगे, किस चीज़ के लिए हम आई एम नॉट गोइंग टू कॉम्प्रोमाइज in terms of values, in terms of attitudes, in terms of behavior. बिकॉज जब आप नॉन निगोशिएबल्स आप एक सेट करते हैं अपने लिए, तो आप अपने आप को एक तरह से प्रोटेक्ट करते हैं फ्रॉम सिचुएशंस और फ्रॉम पीपल. कि कभी कभी एंड आई एम श्योर यू मस्ट बी कमिंग अक्रॉस सिचुएशंस वेयर people might be trying to have a negative impact or trying to pull you down. So when you have these non-negotiables, it enables you to protect yourself, and this basically encourages a sense of self-confidence and that is a very important component of your positive image. So you should first know yourself, discover what are your weaknesses and what are your strengths. So if you have that strength, even if people are trying to put you down, you know that you are very confident in it and you are not going to negotiate with that strength. Now, another way is that you have to make certain goals and certain promises to yourself, and you need not, and you have to fulfill those promises. Because if you have made a promise to yourself, for example, if you feel that you are very reliable, you can take care of yourself or take care of other people, then you need not break the promises, because it has a very detrimental and a very negative impact on you, and you might get into a situation where you feel a sense of disappointment and self doubt. And this basically, when you enter a situations where you have made a promise and you are not able to fulfill that promise, you experience that sense of disappointment and self doubt, and that erodes your self respect and your self worth. So every time you make a promise to yourself and break it, it is just like puncturing your self image. जिस तरह से एक बलून में आप जितना आप छोटा सा पंक्चर करेंगे वो डिफ्लेट हो जाएगा ना, तो उसी तरह से आपकी सेल्फ इमेज भी कहीं ना कहीं डिफ्लेट हो जाती है. Now, another way of holding on to your self image is you have to find your voice. By finding your voice, I mean that you have to express your perspective, your thoughts, and your opinion, not in a very aggressive manner, but in a very authentic manner. Because the more you express your opinion, your point of view, and you have the courage to hold on to your opinion, it is going to boost your self confidence and your self worth. So, if you find your voice, because every individual is unique and every individual has their own perspective, a own way of saying certain things. So you embrace that uniqueness and express it and be confident in expressing it. Then, because unless and until you say it out, you will not be affirming what you are as a person. Because sometimes we have, and I'm sure in class also, if a teacher asks a question, हमें जवाब पता होता है, पर हम क्योंकि कॉन्फिडेंस की कमी होती है, जो भी होता है कि हम उसको दबा के रखते हैं, हम बोलते नहीं हैं. एंड somebody else says it and you say, अरे मुझे भी तो ये चीज़ आती है, मैं क्यों नहीं बोला. So it erodes your image. But the person who has given the answer and gets appreciation of the teacher or the students around, then it is a boost to your self-image. So when you have a voice, try to communicate it and try to have the courage to express it, basically. And another term that I wanted to discuss with you is self-esteem, and then I'll moving on to basically how to manage it. Now, when I talked about self concept, that means if I discover the type of person that I am, and I have a lot of information about myself, and then I try to evaluate that information, I try to evaluate that image that I have developed of myself, or the identity that I have developed about of myself. And when I evaluate it in terms of positive, that means I have those qualities, those characteristics, those thought processes, or I behave in a way which is acceptable to you, acceptable to others also, then that evaluation is a positive evaluation, and then you have a positive self esteem. So, self esteem basically is an evaluation of your image, so to say. इट इज़ एन इवैल्यूएशन ऑफ योर सेल्फ कॉन्सेप्ट कि किस तरह का आपका नज़रिया अपने लिए है, आप उस नज़रिए को अच्छी तरह से पॉजिटिवली देखते हैं या नेगेटिवली देखते हैं. सो जब आप उसको पॉजिटिव देखेंगे देन दैट इज़ पॉजिटिव सेल्फ एस्टीम. बट इफ़ यू फील दैट यू लैक समवेयर, एंड मेनी टाइम्स आई हैव सीन student might be very talented, very intelligent, बट दे डोंट हैव द कॉन्फिडेंस. सो होता क्या है कि बहुत कुछ, बहुत खूबियाँ होने के बावजूद भी आप अपने को नेगेटिव इवेल्युएट करते हैं. Either you compare yourself with other people, either there's a lot of expectations from other people, and you find that you are not able to come up to that expectation, so you devalue yourself basically. So that leads to a negative self-esteem. Now, a person who is has positive self-esteem, naturally these people are more successful, their performance is much better. And यहाँ पे मैं एक चीज़ आपको क्लैरिफाई कर दूं कि व्हेन आई एम टॉकिंग अबाउट सेल्फ एस्टीम, ज़रूरी नहीं है कि इंसान में टैलेंट हो या बहुत काबिलियत हो तो वो उन्हीं लोगों में सेल्फ एस्टीम ज़्यादा होगी. कभी कभी आपने देखा होगा आपके इर्द गिर्द ऐसे लोग होंगे जो आपके काबिलियत में कम होंगे, उनमें शायद उतना टैलेंट नहीं होगा, उतना skills नहीं होंगे, but they feel very positive about themselves. So because they are feeling positive about themselves, उनका जो काम करने का तरीका है, उनका जो नज़रिया औरों के लिए है या सिचुएशन के लिए है या प्रॉब्लम के लिए, वो डिफरेंट होता है. एंड देन दे टैकल दो सिचुएशंस इन अ वेरी पॉजिटिव फ्रेम ऑफ माइंड, and they are more successful, and they're able to overcome many problems. They are able to take decisions better compared to those people who are low on self-esteem. So it's how you subjectively evaluate your personal worth or value. सो बहुत कुछ होने के बावजूद भी अगर आपको लग रहा है कि आप में वो चीज़ें नहीं हैं, तो फिर डिस्पाइट द फैक्ट दैट यू हैव अ लॉट ऑफ positive characteristics, positive qualities, you will see yourself in a negative way, or you will devalue yourself, and this is going to erode your self respect. So self esteem इसलिए भी ज़रूरी है बिकॉज वो आपको आपकी सेल्फ रिस्पेक्ट को भी इन्फ्लुएंस करता है, बट टू अ लार्ज एक्सटेंट इट हैज़ एन इम्पैक्ट ऑन योर द लेवल ऑफ कॉन्फिडेंस दैट यू हैव ऑन योर एबिलिटी एंड योर कैरेक्टरिस्टिक्स. सो अगर आप में कॉन्फिडेंस है तो आप बहुत सी चीज़ों को हासिल कर सकते हैं. सो यू माइट नॉट बी वेरी इंटेलिजेंट, बट अ कॉन्फिडेंट पर्सन कैन overcome many limitations also. Even I'm sure you must have come across people who are very average, but they're very successful. They are doing very well because they are very confident, and they have a very positive evaluation about themselves, or a very positive image about themselves. So, what are the characteristics of a person who is high on self-esteem? अगर आप देखेंगे अपने इर्द गिर्द कुछ लोगों को जो बहुत जिनकी इमेज जो अपनी नज़र में खुद बहुत पॉजिटिव हैं, दीज आर पीपल हु आर वेरी हाई ऑन सेल्फ कॉन्फिडेंस. उन्हें कोई भी काम दीजिएगा तो ऐसे वो काम करेंगे एज इफ दे नो इट. दे विल नेवर try to get frustrated about it, or they will not see it as a burden. So the confidence that they have is coming from because they feel that they value themselves, and they have a very positive image about themselves. So a person, and if as a student you want to develop the self-esteem, these are qualities which you have to develop, because these are the qualities which is going to feed into your self-esteem. So one of the characteristics definitely is self-confidence. The other is you have a sense of security. You should feel that no matter what you are doing, you are a very secure human being, or you are secure about your characteristics, or you're secure about your qualifications. So this is another very key characteristics of a person who is high on self-esteem, that they have this sense of security, and they also have a sense of belongingness. It's not that you are an individual who is ऑल बाय योरसेल्फ. आप इस सोसाइटी में अकेले नहीं हैं, आपके इर्द गिर्द लोग हैं. सो यू कैन नॉट, एज आई टोल्ड यू, आपको अपने इमेज की डिस्कवरी के लिए लोगों की ज़रूरत होती है. सो जनरली जो लोगों में हाई सेल्फ एस्टीम हैव अ सेंस ऑफ बिलोंगिंगनेस, एंड दे ऑल्सो फील कॉम्पिटेंट. बिकॉज कॉम्पिटेंस के साथ ये है कि जितना आप काम करेंगे, जितना आप अपनी क्वालिटीज़ को पुश करेंगे, यू विल feel that sense of confidence, because the more you are ready to take risk, the more you are ready to work, it is going to help you develop your competence and your confidence also. Because घर में लेटे लेटे या कुर्सी पे बैठे बैठे ना कोई कॉन्फिडेंट हुआ है ना आप होंगे. So you have to do work and should not be afraid of failures, because that is part and parcel of your life. एंड इफ जितना बार आप फेल करेंगे, कहते हैं जितनी बार आप गिरेंगे उतनी बार आपको उठने की तमीज आएगी, और जितनी बार आप उठेंगे उतनी आप उतना ही आपका सेल्फ कॉन्फिडेंस बढ़ेगा. Now, another thing which we see in people who are high on self-esteem is that they regard themselves. वो अपने आप को एक तरह से they value themselves and they respect themselves. हम हमेशा कोशिश करते हैं दूसरे हमें रिस्पेक्ट करें. सो आपको भी अपने आप को रिस्पेक्ट करना पड़ेगा. बिकॉज अगर हम अपने आप को रिस्पेक्ट नहीं कर रहे हैं, दैट मीन्स हमारे अंदर ऐसा कोई चीज़ नहीं है या कोई ऐसी क्वालिटी नहीं है जिसको रिस्पेक्ट किया जाए. सो इफ़ हम अपने आप को ही कम आंक रहे हैं या हम अपने आप को कम देख रहे हैं, तो हम दूसरों से क्यों एक्सपेक्ट करें कि वो हमें रिस्पेक्ट करें. सो अनलेस एंड अनटिल यू रिस्पेक्ट योर सेल्फ, डोंट एक्सपेक्ट अदर्स टू रिस्पेक्ट यू. So this is a key quality of people who are high on self-esteem. Now, why I'm emphasizing on self-esteem? Because as students and as not only students, but when you are going to get into the job market, it is very essential that if you have positive self-esteem, it is going to help you in your future, in your career, in your even in your education also. बिकॉज जो सेल्फ एस्टीम होता है, जिन लोगों में सेल्फ एस्टीम हाई होता है, उनकी डिसीजन मेकिंग प्रोसेस इज वेरी डिफरेंट एंड दे टेक द डिसीजंस. दे आर नॉट सफरिंग फ्रॉम सेल्फ डाउट. एंड such people have good emotional health. So your mental health also is affected by your self-esteem. Because generally, if you look at around the student community or otherwise also, जब लोग अपने आप को नेगेटिव देखने लगते हैं तो कहीं ना कहीं वो एक डिप्रेशन या एंजाइटी या इस तरह के स्ट्रेस की तरफ ज़्यादा बढ़ जाते हैं. एंड देन इट इम्पैक्ट्स योर वेल बीइंग इन अ नेगेटिव मैनर. And so that is why it is essential as individual to not only have an image about yourself, but try to be positive about that image. That means develop those qualities and characteristics which is going to make you feel good about yourself. Because if you have that self-esteem, that positive self-esteem, it is going to act as a motivator for you. Because if you have a healthy positive view of yourself, you will be able to understand your potential, and you will feel not only inspired by other people, but you will feel inspired by yourself, and you will be in a position to take up new challenges in life. Now, another characteristics which we have seen in people is that they don't fear failure. सो जब भी आप कोई काम करेंगे, अभी करेंगे या बाद में करेंगे, आपको फेलियर का सामना करना पड़ेगा. सो यू शुड होप फॉर सक्सेस रादर देन यू फियर फेलियर. बिकॉज कभी कभी हम फेलियर की वजह से अपने आप को पीछे खींच लेते हैं. And try always to be open to the feedback that you are being given by your parents, by your teachers, or by your friends. Don't try to get disturbed by feedbacks. And you should be in a position to tell which feedback is going to be helpful. If there are people who are criticizing you all the time, then you should know which feedback not to take. Because I'm sure many times there will be people around you who will always give you negative feedback. So आपको वो ये stage, you should create that understanding with that what feedback is going to be of help for you and what feedback is going to be detrimental for you. So you should accept both positive and negative feedback and use it for your own benefit rather than making you low in your self confidence. How to improve? I'll just because you are students, so I thought I'll just discuss 2-3 points. How to develop your self-esteem, or how to manage yourself basically as a individual. Now, as a student, if you want to develop or you manage yourself in order to develop that positive self esteem, try not only to focus on the syllabus which you are pursuing for your degree. Try to do something regarding extracurricular activities or maybe some part-time job, because these days it is very in that students are engaged in some part-time work, because it gives you that leverage, it upskills you basically. So जब आप एक्स्ट्रा करिकुलर एक्टिविटीज़ में पार्टिसिपेट करते हैं या पार्ट टाइम वर्क करते हैं तो शुरू शुरू में आपको थोड़ा सा इनहिबिशंस होते हैं, बट जैसे जैसे आप उनमें पार्टिसिपेशन करते हैं, एंड आई सीन दिस अमंग स्टूडेंट्स, जब वो एलिक्यूशंस में पार्टिसिपेट करते हैं, ड्रामेटिक्स में पार्टिसिपेट करते हैं या स्टेज पे जाते हैं, कभी कभी स्टूडेंट्स बहुत स्टेज शाय होते हैं, उनको बोलना नहीं आता, कभी कोई मजाक उड़ा लेता है तो फिर वो थोड़ा सा पीछे खींच लेते हैं अपने आप को. But those students who do not pay attention to all these things but keep on going, they develop a lot of confidence. So आपको अपने आप को पीछे नहीं खींचना है. अगर मान लीजिए आप में कुछ इनहिबिशंस है या फियर्स हैं या फिर एंजाइटी है किसी चीज़ से, so try to work on them. And the best way is to engage yourself in those activities which is going to help you overcome these fears. Now, another very simple way of doing is that you have to set yourself some personal goals, and those goals जहाँ पे आपको commitment की ज़रूरत है, because आपने goal तो अपना बना लिया है, या you have identified a goal for yourself, but you don't have the commitment towards that goal. So जब आप goals बनाइए तो have that commitment to complete that goal, because जब आप अपने ही बनाए हुए expectations या goals की तरफ काम करेंगे तो नेचुरली आप में एक होगा एक इंटरेस्ट कि आई हैव टू कंप्लीट इट. Then try to participate in some charity work or challenges, because once you are trying to engage for other people or trying to work for other people or for the benefit of other people, that gives you a different understanding about yourself, because most of the time we are just thinking about ourselves, but we also have to think about others. So when you are participating in a polio or a charity, or maybe any charity work helping the poor, for example in the pandemic you must have seen many people engage in charity work where they were working, they were trying to help other people, especially students were there, they were helping, others were helping. So when you are doing some charity work, don't do it with a very arrogant, with an arrogant attitude, okay I just have time so I'm just giving my time or giving my money, but try to make a difference in another people's lives, so that also gives you a very positive vibe about yourself. Then develop your interest and your knowledge by, and I'm sure in your universities also there must be research projects or internships or some other projects. Try to engage in those things, because once you are engaging in these things you might develop certain interests which you thought you never had. So these are some of the ways in which students can not only manage themselves but can also discover certain skills about themselves. Now, I'll be discussing certain things about self management. And now, if when we talk about self management, these are nothing but certain skills which are very essential for any individual in order to be capable. And if you are looking for a job or if you are an employee, then it enables you to control your thought and behavior so that you can achieve your goal without people becoming critical about you. So it's just like when we talk about self management skills, अगर आप देखेंगे कि किस तरह से लोग काम करते हैं, बहुत से लोग होते हैं अगर थोड़ा सा प्रॉब्लम होती है लाइफ में तो एकदम से वो स्ट्रेस में आ जाते हैं, बट दे आर अदर पीपल हु स्टे वेरी काम अंडर स्ट्रेस. They not only manage their time, but they thrive within their roles and they do very well even in very stressful situations. So how do they manage themselves? So if you look around, you'll see that these are people who have acquired some type of an expertise not only working with other people, but they also know how to deal with their own characteristics and qualities, and they have developed certain skills which nowadays are known as soft skills. So there are certain soft skills which I will advise students to develop, because this is going to help you a lot, not only while you are studying, but also in your real life when you go out and do a job for yourselves. Now, one of the things as far as soft skill is concerned is communication skills. Now, communication skills is that you should know how to communicate what you want to, and that communication has to be very clear. Don't uh, because if you are confused, उसी तरह से आप confused messages देंगे तो आपकी communications बहुत effective नहीं होती. So try to develop those skills where you can communicate clearly with people, with your co-workers, with your friends, with the people around you, because when you are able to communicate effectively, clearly, then you will avoid a lot of misunderstanding, a lot of stress. And here I'm talking about not only communication helping you in your job in future, but as an individual managing your relationship with your friends, with your family, that is also very essential, because sometimes what happens is that due to lack of communication skills we are not able to maintain positive environment around ourselves. So one of the skills which is very essential to develop is communication skills. The other is time management. Now time management is at least this is what my teachers taught us, कि हर इंसान के पास 24 घंटे का ही टाइम होता है, चाहे वो अमीर हो चाहे गरीब हो, जो वो कितना बड़ा रईसा था. Everybody has only 24 hours, but how you manage those 24 hours, that is going to determine कि आप लाइफ में कहाँ जाएंगे. So you should know how to manage the time very effectively. और आप एक ही नुस्खा सबको नहीं दे सकते. Everybody has their own way of managing time, but because आज के अगर आप अपनी लाइफ देखेंगे, there's so much of thing to do, but most of the time nowadays students are just spending their time, and we also sometimes spend our time on these social medias, and we are losing our time, and as a result we are left with lesser time. So try to effectively manage your time, because this is going to determine where you are going to reach and how successful you are going to be in life. Then try to reward yourself when you accomplish a task. It's not necessary that whenever you achieve, others have to praise you or others have to reward you. You can also do the rewarding by feeling proud about yourself, or doing a positive self talk. So try to nurture yourself, try to take care of yourself, and always try to surround yourself with people who are positive, who are motivated. Because if we surround ourselves with negativity and negative people all the time, then it has a negative impact on our, not only our image, but also us, it brushes our self-esteem in a negative manner. So that's about all what I wanted to discuss. If anybody has some question, I would like to take it.
So, students, if you have any queries, you can post on the chat, please. Well, that was really a marvelous and a very enlightening session, Professor Roman. Like, we are really, really so grateful to you for enlightening us with your wisdom and knowledge. And I would just see if our students have any queries. Mm, Students, feel free to ask Dr. Romana, Professor Romana, about anything that you that you wish to know further about today's topics. Like, you covered everything that is very, very essential in today's world, ma'am. My favorite part was when you talked about like how we usually give more importance to our physical appearance. When we look ourselves in the mirror, we see कि हाँ हम ऐसे हैं हम वैसे हैं, and we usually lack that understanding of how what as a person we are, that
Exactly.
lack of understanding of what we are. So I would just join Dr. Farah as well. So what I think is that कि आप चाहे जितने you could be one of the most beautiful person, most handsome person, but if you are not a good person, कि if you are very harsh, you're rude, you don't have compassion for the others. So I don't think that would ever fructify, that would ever be fruitful, so one has to have a self awareness, knowing what you are, and when you know yourself, then only you would be able to understand the others around you.
Exactly.
So that was really
And not only
wonderful.
compassion about other people, but I think we should also be compassionate with ourselves also.
And
Sometimes
ourselves,
we become
yes,
so harsh about
absolutely.
ourselves.
Yes, absolutely, ma'am. So, with your strategies, with your management techniques, I'm sure we all, not only the students but also the faculty who have joined, we all would be compelled to, delve deeper into ourselves and, discover ourselves, which was actually the theme of your today's lecture, to discover ourselves. So, students who have
Exactly.
joined and who are watching, this is definitely your homework for today, that you have to, know who you are. You have to discover yourself, start discovering yourself from today, because that is the core and the key to your success in life. Thank you so much, ma'am. And Dr. Farah, if you would like to add something in today's lecture.
First of all, I would like to extend my thanks to Professor Rumana ma'am, who has joined us and who has enlightened us with her valuable lecture. And it must have enriched our students also. Or I would request Rumana ma'am to connect with us in future also. It was really like हम लोग हमेशा चाहेंगे आपका guidance, because we are learning ma'am, and आगे भी हम चाहेंगे कि आप हमसे जुड़ी रहें. और द लेक्चर वाज अमेजिंग. इन बिटवीन आई हैड टू ट्रैवल, तो मेरा यूट्यूब पे लाइव चल रहा था, बट यू मस्ट हैव
Okay.
ऑब्जर्व द बैकग्राउंड दैट हैज चेंज्ड. तो राइट नाउ आई एम समवेयर, but I was continuously listening through my earphone, and the live was ongoing, and it was really very helpful. There was few points before your lecture. I also had online session, and I missed few points which you added. So it was also a learning, and very means fruitful for me too, क्योंकि अभी जो मेरा लेक्चर था उसमें मैंने कुछ पॉइंट्स मिस कर दिए थे, लाइक सेल्फ मैनेजमेंट और टाइम मैनेजमेंट में, एंड यू वेरी कॉम्प्रिहेंसिवली एक्सप्रेस दोज थिंग्स ऑल्सो.
Thank you,
Yes, ma'am,
Farah.
absolutely. And we really learned a lot from you, and we would definitely be inviting you in some of our further sessions also. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you, Professor Siddiqui, for
It was
joining
a
us.
pleasure addressing it.
And the pleasure is all ours, ma'am. Thank you so much. And thank you, dear students, for joining us for this live session and making it fruitful. All right, so then we will be ending with our session.
Thank you so much,
Thank you,
Rumana
ma'am.
ma'am. Thank
Thank
you
you,
very much,
everyone.
ma'am, for
Thank you,
being
Take
with
Farah.
us.
care.
Thank you, Farah and Ms.
Take
Neha.
care,
You're a student
everyone.
over there?
Yes, there are students, but
Ma'am, yeah, I've just joined as a faculty. Over
Okay.
here. I've just joined as a faculty. I'm a recent addition to Integral,
Okay,
and it's
okay.
all the more
So, how
pleasure
many
to be
faculties are there?
connected. Yes, ma'am, sorry.
How many faculties are there at Integral in psychology
Ma'am, in
department?
the psychology department,
Yes.
there are eight, no, seven,
we are eight, five,
Oh,
five. Right now, we are five, and
five,
it was
six.
really,
Yeah, our head ma'am is also from psychology background.
yeah, including our HOD, ma'am, we are six.
okay. Okay. Good, good. Okay, so
Ma'am,
I'll log
we
off
would,
and thank you very much for having
yes,
me.
yes, definitely, ma'am, and we would definitely be connecting with you in the near future.
Okay. Inshallah.
All right, thank you,
Thank you, ma'am.
everyone.
Thank you.